On this episode of Three Guys and Guitars, we're putting together pedal boards and
talking about how you can get the most out of your 401k.
Welcome to Three Guys and Guitars. Once again, there are only two of us. My name's Aljon.
I'm Dan.
And the rest of the guys are still in jail. We haven't broke them out yet. They're going to pay their penance, and hopefully when they come back, they'll be able to walk properly. So, we're talking about putting together your pedals. Mm-hmm. We get this question a lot. What are the best ways to put together a pedal board? What effects go in what order? So Dan and I are here to discuss this. Now, Dan, you're a pedal guy. You have a few pedals in your pedal train, your chain, what have you. So where do you start?
Well, there's a lot of... where
do you start? There are no real true rules, really.
There's like acceptable standards. Like if you want to start from like how I start my chain to how it goes into my amp, I always start off with a volume pedal,
okay,
and then I go to wah,
okay,
because that changes like the cue of your guitar,
okay,
or whatever you're playing. Some people use bass wah.
Right.
It's cool. Flea does that sometimes.
Yeah.
I like Flea.
Not too shabby.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's an alright.
He's alright.
He's alright.
And then I use level controls, so boost or overdrive or distortion. Basically anything that slams your input or changes it in any way.
Nice.
So overdrive or distortion, because they're two different things. Then from there I'll do modulation-based effects like Univibe or Phaser.
There you go.
Or
Chorus.
Flanger, chorus, anything like that. And then from there, you use time. So that'd be your delays.
Time.
This not going to fit on the board.
This is flipping huge. It's that visual sound, man. Yeah, this delays are great. I'm kind of like you in the fact that everything was great, and that's kind of like a tried and true kind of way to set up your pedal board with the wahs first and everything. Mm-hmm. What I've done though with a lot of my phasers, I actually put them right after my wah pedal.
Cool.
Because it does shift your mid range a little bit, and so that's where my pedal setup is a little bit different. So I tend to put my phaser right before this. So like volume, wah. Phaser for me, but of course, typically that's not, where a lot of people set it up, but it's huge. I mean, this thing's
Make those sideways. There we
You
go.
like that? Okay,
Yeah.
There you go. It doesn't make it.
It's like the guys who turn their Marshall cabs on their side.
Where do you put? Okay, so you talked a little bit about distortion, overdrive, and now I have a fuzz pedal. This is the Analog Alien Fuzz Bubble. So where would you put if you had all three effects, like we do here? You've got distortion here. Mm-hmm. You've got. I'm having a hard time getting it out of the box. Overdrive and now fuzz. Where do you put that in your pedal situation?
Well, on my board now, I have the fuzz as like the last overdrive or distortion. Because I don't really use distortion. I'll use like overdrive and fuzz and boost. So I'll put my boost first, and then the overdrive, and then the fuzz. That's always just sounded best to me. I use my favorite effects company is Mojo Hand.
Yeah. Those
great little
guys.
company out of Dallas or Texas. I don't know if it's Dallas. They might as well. Everything in Texas is Dallas. I don't know. I live in New England. I don't know anything. The geography escaped me.
Funny that was your major. Yeah. So okay, that's cool, man. The modulation effects. So if you're using like a whammy or an octave or something like that, where would you put that in line? Because I would probably put that right after the distortion, especially the whammy.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess. I've never used one before. I've heard them used. My buddy Tony has a whammy, and it sounds really good. I can't make heads or tails of it, but I'm a little more
traditional.
Yeah.
You're not doing the Tom Morello Edge stuff. I tended to use a lot of effects. I have got a huge pedal train. It's set up with 2 tiers of pedals. It's not really practical for gigging in Nashville, so I have a very short board like this, and I have a very small delay, that goes on that. And of course, your tuner, you can put that first, more, over anything. But there is really no hard set rule because some of the most intriguing effects are when you take the rules and turn them on their head. You know, like maybe put a delay before distortion, and the sound of that is just kind of crazy because I don't know how to even explain it. It's just a different kind of tone.
I've actually never tried that before.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was 12 years old. I just started learning how to play guitar, and I fell in love with the DoD delay. It was the first pedal I ever picked up, and I was like, "Wow, I can really sound like the Edge playing this thing." And then I couldn't stop. So I was mowing lawns. I was, working at Chinese restaurants. This is a true story. And actually, imagine that. And I actually ended up saving up, playing all these gymnasium gigs. And I had this huge DoD pedal board. And now they're reissuing a lot of these pedals, so I feel good about myself. But I had the biggest pedal board around, and they're like, "Man, Al John, how do you get all those pedals?" I'm like, "Working every damn weekend, bro. I've been doing. What have you been doing? You haven't been doing anything." But I fell in love with pedals, and ever since I just can't get enough of them. And now, do you have a preference between something that's like pure bypass or something that is kind of like a buffered bypass? Or
All my stuff is the true bypass. I don't like to. I want to insult anybody's taste because taste is really subjective. But I always found
You're
that
insulting me already.
I've been insulting you all day since you picked me up from the airport. I've always liked the true bypass stuff. It just it's a little. I like the way it sounds better. But then again, I could just be talking out my rear end because I don't use effects loops. I go straight into the front end of my amp.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my amps don't have effects loops because they're older. But I don't bother with a lot of that stuff. I just the true bypass stuff I really like. I've got like a couple full tone pedals and Catalan bread and all that fun stuff. Yeah, they have a new delay out that's pretty dope.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For me, I don't care as long as it sounds good. I've used some Visual Sounds pedals, and they have a buffered bypass, but their buffered bypass actually acts as kind of a it cleans your signal up, and it's also it's a buffered bypass, but it's not true bypass. So no matter how many pedals you have in the chain, it actually will clean up the signal a little bit, which is nice. So it's kind of a little bit of a booster, I guess, whatever it is, but it's very clean. But really, if you're running a lot of pedals, you may want to actually use a signal buffer. I know that Dunlop makes one, and basically what happens is if the more pedals you have, sometimes your tone can get crushed out of that signal because you're running so many pedals from your signal is slowly getting diluted or degrading rather the more pedals you have because of all the signal that's run through. So you might want to get a little kind of a booster pedal like that, or use a pedal like this, or if Creation Audio Labs has a really cool pedal that they run, and the signal sounds great no matter if you're playing in. I think we used that on the world's largest pedal board. We had like 250 pedals set up on that thing. It's ridiculous, but that thing was sounding really crystal clear on that. And how about fastening them to your pedal board? We have here just like a pedal train mini or a nano. I think it's a mini is what this is, right? Is that what that is?
It just says pedal train.
Okay, it's a little pedal. Well, it's a small pedal train. So you were telling me
it's the mini. Yes, mini.
No, you were telling me that instead of Velcro, a lot of people use Velcro fasteners to put on the bottom of their pedals. Like I'll take the rubber feet off and attach them, and it's a little Morley wad. Just fits great on a short board. But you just fix it like that. What do you use?
I use zip ties. Some of the stuff I don't like taking the rubber feet off because they're attached by screws, or you take the screws off. You can't do that like a crybaby. So you take the screws off the bottom of a crybaby wah. They don't mount right for some reason.
They don't, but I've done that.
Really?
Yeah, I've done that. I've actually taken the rubber feet off and just mounted it. And it's not really that good and balanced.
Yeah, I just felt uneasy. So with the Velcro, I've noticed that if I keep my pedal board in my practice space, I don't keep my guitars there, but I keep a lot of pedals there. if I keep my pedal board like upright in its case, sometimes if it gets really hot, they'll kind of slide off.
Yeah.
Depends on where you live. You know, in the summertime, New England gets really hot and humid. So I haven't had great luck with Velcro stuff because I keep most of my stuff vertical, just in this, for the sake of saving space. So I use zip ties on everything, and that way, like, I can jostle it all over the place or kick it around, and I won't have to worry about it getting cockeyed.
Right. I think for me, I've used both, but I've actually found that this adhesive works really well. It's the pedal fasteners from Stage Tricks, and these guys actually have their whatever super fastener that they use, the hook and loop that they use, is really good, especially in hot climates. Like if you're in your van and you're traveling around your practice room or whatever, and you lean your pedal board up, that this adhesive is so industrial strength it won't slip, and it's worked great for me. And I've used it for the past 3 years. And it's worked great. They do these little risers, which are nice, and these pedal fasteners are really cool. So if you're out where wherever people find this, you can use that, and it doesn't give you any problems really. Power supplies. A lot of people have pedals that run 9-volt power supplies. A lot of these run on 9-volt power supplies. Do you use batteries, or do you use like a one spot with a daisy chain, or what do you use, or a DC brick, or what do you use?
Well, I have a excuse me, for the stuff I have in my house that's just laying around, I use a one spot with like the 8 chain, and I do like 3 or 4 pedals set up there. And I find that's great because it's if I'm having company over and I don't want them tripping all over my crap I keep in the house,
this is
I
what
just throw it in the back
about,
of
the little daisy chain
from
Visual Sound.
Yeah,
right?
you can champ like 8 pedals on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
For my pedal board, I use a Voodoo Labs Pedal Power 2.
yeah.
I think it's the one that I purchased. And I've had DC bricks on other stuff, pedals and various accoutrements kind of come and go with me. I move a lot of stuff, so.
Yeah.
But I use that for most things. There are a couple older pedals that I have. I have one of those. Actually, this one's newer. It's a Full Tone, the Octavia clone they make, the Octafuzz. That's a great pedal, but it has a center pin negative or center pin positive. I can't remember which is which, but it basically runs the exact opposite of the power that you have to that you've got to.
Kind of like some of those
Kinda
old
comes out of your
Electro-Harmonix pedals.
Right. So I have to use a 9-volt on that, which is fine. And I use a 9-volt on my wah because I don't keep my wah on my pedal board anymore. So because I don't use it all the time. So I have that separate. So I'll just chain it into the front of my.
I think
board.
I think for small boards, like I've used the one spot Visual Sound stuff a lot, because it's very convenient and you only have this one hookup, and it basically runs anything on a 9-volt. But if you're wanting something, and it's pretty quiet too, by the way. But if you're wanting something where you can control the volume, or not the volume, but the power control, like some of them will have like a little sag, power sag. I think the Voodoo Labs will do that a little bit, right? Or the DC brick. I know one of those power supplies you can actually control some of the voltage on some things.
I haven't looked because I mounted it underneath, so I haven't looked in a while. But the T-Rex one, I think.
Oh, the T-Rex one does that. So if you want to mess around with that, apparently it changes, how your pedals sound, like when your batteries start running down. And I think a lot of people might want to have that kind of used battery sound in their effects. I personally don't. I kind of like them the way they are. And the other thing too is if you want to get isolation on a particular line, like some cheaper, power supplies will actually insert noise because they're not. Each individual input of that power supply is not shielded properly. So you want to make sure that whenever you're running the power, it's nice and clean, because if you introduce any type of weird something or other, it could actually show up in your pedal. You can actually add noise to your signal. So you want to make sure that whatever setup you're using, you try it out and make sure there's no extra noise introduced to that signal.
Yeah, well, sure. That's why it's the same reason you want to use good cables and stuff too.
Yep. And there you go. We're putting together some cables. We're just going to chop some of these pedal station kits up from Planet Waves, or you could use George L's cables or whatever kind of patch cables you want. But I think if you're investing money in really nice pedals, you should probably use really nice cable.
Sure.
And then we'll use our Gibson cable to run everything else. you know,
Yeah.
until we make those jumpers. You know, hopefully we'll have those jumpers soon. But any other tips and tricks maybe for people that are looking to put their own pedal board together? Because, I mean, when I was a kid, if you didn't have a pedal train, you know what I would do? I would put everything in a little bag, you know, or mount
Yeah.
everything on a piece of plywood. So
Sure,
you know.
nothing wrong with that, man. I'm like one of my buddies does the big plywood thing. Works for him just fine, and he's a much better guitar player than I am.
Yeah.
So having a great pedal board doesn't necessarily make you a good guitar player.
That's true.
As far as advice I can give is, who cares what everybody says about this pedal and that pedal? Go with what makes you sound your best, what you like, because there are lots of people who talk on the internet and don't have anything nice to say about this brand or that brand. If you don't have anything nice to say, you say it on the internet, apparently. So,
We know this
yeah.
to be true.
so right, just because something's wicked expensive doesn't mean it's the best. So whatever makes you think you sound the best, you know, if you feel like you're sounding your best, you know, screw everyone else. It's fine.
Exactly. You know, the cool thing is that people can just go to whatever music store they want and try a bunch of pedals out to see what they like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does it sound the way you want it to sound? Does it sound the way you want it to sound with your guitar and with your amp?
Sure.
You know, so so hopefully you get some ideas on how to set up your pedal board the way you want it to, and get this kind of tones that you want, and just tweak all those buttons and just make magic happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you have a pedal board you want to, show us, feel free to leave that picture or that video as a reply to this particular video, and let us know what you're playing through. Show us pictures and reply, leave your comments below, and don't forget, you can even tweet us and use the hashtag @3guysandguitars, or 3guysandguitars with that hashtag, and it'll all be good in the world. So in the meantime, we'll see you next time, and rock on.